What's up, everybody on YouTube or from elsewhere in the internet? So today we have another Terry Farrell magazine here. This one is from Dreamwatch, and it is from this is Terry Farrell in March 1995. And this originally was $6.75. This is the magazine of TV SF fantasy. Now, this just ain't no, typical Terry Farrell interview or magazine or article. This is a DS9 Terry Farrell Candid interview. So this just ain't no normal regular interview. This is a candid interview that Terry Farrell did. I mean, we're talking about being straightforward, to the point, just right on with the facts, right on with the interview. So this just ain't no average interview. Okay, so what's going on here? And here we go. Terry Farrell, Deep Space Nine, Quantum Leap, Red Dwarf, USA, The Twilight Zone, She's Done Them All. We talked to the Vogue cover girl, who's now turning heads in Hollywood. There's also an article here, Deep Space Nine, a report on the progress of the crucial make or break third season. There's some other stuff. Since this is real short, and I guess it's kind of, related to what we're talking about here, I guess I'll just read this other article real quick, because it's it's not too long. It's pretty quick. It says here, DS9 acts looming? ? The Paramount Network has promised advertisers ratings of 7 over its whole block of programming, equal to what Fox averages after 2 years. Voyager is currently delivering the goods with twice as many viewers as the next most popular show at around 10. Indeed, its ratings are higher than DS9's, which is now widely perceived to be headed for early cancellation as it continues to attract little passionate interest among fans. However, it is likely to continue for at least 1 more year. There's some other stuff. Well, this other article is not too long, so I guess I'll just read it also. And it's basically almost the same subject too, so this is an article titled Deep Space Nine, third series seeks new status. And it has all the Deep Space Nine characters and actors. Some other pictures. If it'll focus. Sometimes it takes a minute. Is this gonna focus? Well, a little bit. There you go. Alright, so since this is a pretty short article, I'll just try to read through this real quick. While Patrick Stewart and the crew of the Enterprise NCC-1701D departed in a blaze of ratings glory, the cast and crew of the supposedly darker and grittier Deep Space Nine took a deep breath and moved into life without the TNG safety net to shield them from the full scrutiny and revenue expectations of Paramount Television. It seemed that a bit of a rethink was in order as the word came down that there was going to be a concerted effort to bring more action into the show, and specifically to make Commander Benjamin Sisko a more dynamic and forceful presence. A strategy was hatched to attract a larger share of the younger male audience that had been the foundation of the Next Generation's huge popularity by bringing an unadulterated warship to the space station setting of DS9, and for good measure giving it the cloaking technology that Gene Roddenberry had denied to the Federation on moral grounds. Throw in a Romulan or two, a nasty new foe in the unbending mold of the original Borg, new self-discoveries for the series' most mysterious character, and get everybody off that station more often. That was the prescription to the properly positioned DS9. The first Trek incarnation to enjoy zero input from Roddenberry as the franchise standard bearer. All of that may have seemed perfectly plausible as a game plan, but as the first half of the season slipped by, DS9's big chance to make its mark before the arrival of Voyager has failed to ignite strong new interest in the series, and so by default may have primarily served to whet appetites for a new beginning with Captain Janeway and company. The new Sisko was played by the old Avery Brooks, a complex moody man who seems to feel that understatement is essential to the dignity of the character he plays. Character development appears to be falling primarily to Rene Agenois, Odo, but along the lines of being more interested in life as a humanoid now that he has learned a good deal that he does not like about his own kind. As Odo and Kira draw closer, Vedic burials days may be numbered. The O'Briens are still fighting and making up. Giving more exposure to Dax would be immensely helped by finding something other than half-baked scripts for her. And Bashir seems to be missing in action. Perhaps a concession to transplanted Wesley Bashers who have transferred their malevolence to the callow doctor. Worse yet, the independent marketing of the two series, DS9 remaining in open market syndication, while Voyager is available only to stations who agree to join with the new with the new United Paramount Network and carry its other programs as well, leaves the possibility that the two Star Trek shows could actually be scheduled against each other in some areas. It had appeared that this would actually happen in the New York City market until pressures prevailed to make one of the two stations back off, at least for now. From such a fratricidical confrontation, the only boost DS9 is lending to Voyager is an opening sequence at the station which featured a brief scene with Quark. In the second half of the season, if the second half of the season does not spark more interest than the first, DS9 may end up wishing it could hitch a ride with the new crew, but that will not be possible under the premise of the Voyager series, which decrees no further crossovers between the two shows. And then the rest of this, it just has like descriptions of some of the episodes, or it just talks about like the plots or storylines for some of the different and various DS9 episodes. And so that was the end of that article. Well, I mean, when you think about it, I mean, they had two Star Trek shows playing at the same time. So I mean, keeping track of one show, I mean, at least at the time, I mean, was I guess a lot. But I mean, having two shows, so you had two Star Treks competing against each other. Like, I mean, usually you don't see that too often. You know, I mean, like a equivalent example would be having like two Star Wars playing against each other at the same time. So I guess maybe the fan base was more divided than it would have been had they only had one Star Trek. Like for like the longest time, like the Next Generation, for example, was the only Star Trek out there. You know, in like the late 80s and stuff. And Deep Space Nine only got started right before the Next Generation ended, like the last season or so, last couple seasons. And then you had, you know, Deep Space Nine to get started, and then they had Voyager. So maybe if Voyager, they had waited to have Voyager until later on, maybe Deep Space Nine would have been more popular, because you wouldn't have had two of the same shows basically, or from the same franchise, competing against each other. I don't know, something like that. But this is the main magazine article I wanted to go over or read today. And this is Terry Farrell's magazine article called A Model Trill. An interview with Terry Farrell, alias Deep Space Nine's Lieutenant Jadzia Dax. But this isn't just no interview, like it said on the other page. This is a candid interview. This just ain't no normal interview. How come it doesn't say it on that page? Anyway, so they have here a couple pictures of Terry Farrell and Dax, some of the Dax pictures. This other one is looks like it's on the Defiant, I think, with a spaceship. It says, is this going to zoom or focus? Maybe it'll focus. A little bit. It says Dax and Cisco aboard the Defiant to search. Okay, so what does this say? Dreamwatch, how is filming going on Deep Space Nine's third season? Terry Farrell. Really good and kinda crazy. There's no air conditioning on stage 18, though. Every other take I have to run in front of the fans so I won't lose my spots. Let's begin with your early acting and modeling career. How did a young woman from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, end up on the covers of Vogue and Mademoiselle? When I was 16, I sent my pictures into the elite modeling agency in New York. When they got them, they called me right before I started my junior year in high school and said, "We're going to come see you. If you look like your pictures, we want you." They came to see me and wanted me, and I went at Christmas break to get test photos done. Then I saved my money and worked ahead in school so that I only had one science credit and of course all my gym credits left, like I was going to stay in school for gym credits, get a life. I went to New York at the end of my junior year and took my general education diploma, so I graduated from high school that way. I didn't go back. There was an affiliation with Elite Models and J. Michael Bloom, an acting agency, and I started taking acting lessons. How I became a cover girl, I don't know. I just got all these strokes of luck, I guess. The first day I was there, I met the editor of Mademoiselle. The next week I had to do my first beauty booking, and I got punched in the face the day before while I was standing in the street. I guess I looked a little too happy to be there. 6 weeks later I had the cover of Mademoiselle, German Vogue, and the cover of the fashion section for the Times of New York and the Washington Post. It just kept going from there. Well, wait a minute. How are you going to leave out the rest of the story? So Terry Farrell got punched in the face. Some random day just went up to Terry Farrell and threw a punch. So what happened after that? I mean, I'm guessing Terry Farrell punched back or hit back or whooped that other chick. So you wanted to act as well as model. Yes, I was studying acting at the same time, and it was one of those roads that you get on that's like a domino effect. I was fortunate because of the way that things happened for me. It almost looked like I just fell into it. I guess I paid my dues later in my life before I got DS9. What was it like to do Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield and Sally Kellerman, one of Trek's first guest stars? It was the greatest. I didn't know that at the time. We didn't talk about Star Trek, actually. We talked about how Sally couldn't train her dogs not to go to the bathroom on her couches. They were fun. They were probably the most fun I've ever had on a job because everybody was so funny. I mean, Rodney Downey's Jr.'s hysterical, and we hung out with Burt Young because we'd work for half a day, and then at lunch Rodney would decide he needed to rewrite some of the script. Then we'd pretty much hang out for the rest of the day. Our shoot was a month over schedule because of that. Did you enjoy your one episode of Quantum Leap, the season 4 finale, A Leap for Lisa? I actually wish I'd had more to do because Scott Bakula was so great and so nice. I was really nervous because the first thing we shot was the silhouette of me coming out of the water, and I didn't have very much on when I did that. From 10 feet away, I looked like a Barbie doll. No nipples and no pubic hair because they covered that up. Otherwise, I didn't have anything else on, and I had to land on top of Scott and start making out with him. Once I kissed him for the first time, it wasn't hard to have to kiss him again, but I wish I would have had more to do. I didn't get the whole script when I said yes to it, so I was wondering why Don Belisario was so excited that I was doing the part. Then I got the script and found out that I died. I had basically one scene in this thing with Scott and 3 other little segments. That was fun. Was Quantum Leap your first telefantasy experience? No. An episode of the new Twilight Zone called After Hours. It was a remake of the one Anna Francis did, where she was going in to buy a thimble and didn't realize she was a mannequin. I was going in to buy a Cabbage Patch Kid and didn't realize that I was a mannequin and that my time in the real world was up. That was cool. I'm very curious to hear about your involvement in the American Red Dwarf pilot, where you played the cat. Well, what they did was they shot a pilot for NBC and they recast the guy who was playing the cat. I wasn't in on exactly why, but I have a feeling it was because they thought an effeminate black man wouldn't work in that character for the American version. What we did was a promo, which at most was 15 minutes long. They recast Rimmer the Hologram too, and Jane Leeds played Holly. Craig Barco, something, who I later worked with again on Daniel Steele's Star during my first Deep Space Nine hiatus, played Lister. I was very hard on his character, whom I called Hummy. They were very nice, and I really wanted it to work because it was fun playing the cat. The promo was hard, but because we got the script the day before, and we were trying to rehearse it while doing makeup tests too. Everything was done a bit too fast. I don't think the promo did the show justice. It wasn't that great, quite honestly. I wanted the series to go so that so that I could do it better. It really felt like a cold reading when we were doing it. What was your cat like, character-wise? Oh, nothing like Danny John Jules. I was very much like what you'd think a woman would be like if she were a cat. I had hair down to my ass. I was wearing a cat suit and had long, very sharp black nails. We bleached out the ends of my eyebrows to make my eyes look more feline. A great deal of makeup. We actually did tests where I looked like I was in Cats, and they thought it was too much. Character-wise, I suppose it would be closest to Catwoman. I was very sarcastic, very flip, and thought that everybody was beneath me. I had no time for any of them, and I was very vain and worried about my hair. When I came to Deep Space Nine, they had been casting for 3 months. I was the last person on the show, and the casting director didn't want to see me for it. Had this version of Red Dwarf made it to a series, do you think it would have lasted long on American TV? Not really, production-wise. I don't think they would have put too much money into Red Dwarf. It really worked for the series in England, but I don't think Red Dwarf would have made it in America because if they didn't put the money into special effects, it wouldn't have survived, especially with Star Trek. What was it like to do Hellraiser 3? It was great, actually. I learned a lot about having to pretend people were there when they weren't, because it was a low-budget movie and all the money went on the screen. We were trying to shoot as fast as we could on 6-day shoots. Bradley's pinhead makeup took a long time. Actually, most of the time when I'm talking to him, he wasn't there. When he's talking to me, I was there. We'd shoot my stuff first, and then we'd have him come in. The same thing with the Cenobites. They wouldn't be there until right before their shot because they were doing makeup the same time I was working. It was an awakening, too, because I hadn't worked on a movie before the 6-day work weeks. Before 6-day work weeks. Back to School, the series Paper Dolls, and Twilight Zone were big budget, and I was used to having a lot of other things available to me. And here they were cutting corners as much as they could. I didn't get a trailer until I got bronchitis from two weeks of night shooting and running around in the rain. I was taking NyQuil during the day and Trixaril at night to stay awake. That was insane. Did you know that Andrew Garrick and DS9 Robinson did the first Hellraiser? Yes, he was brilliant. I loved the first one. The 3 movies are almost like a trilogy of terror. Or trilogy. I love the idea with the flesh and that he was brought back to life by her bringing the guys up there and killing them. God, that was horrifying. Do you think that Hellraiser 3 gave you any kind of break into Deep Space Nine? No, actually, I don't think it did. That wouldn't have shown much of Dax. But then again, nothing I'd played had ever been that close to Dax. When I came to Deep Space Nine, they had been casting for 3 months. I was the last person cast on the show, and Junie Lowry, the casting director, didn't want to see me for it. I had read for Babylon 5, but they weren't paying very much. I was down to the wire on a film and a sitcom, and on a Friday at 11 a.m. Paramount called and said they wanted to see me. When they described Dax to me, I thought, now that's a cool character. She's 328 years old and lived 7 lifetimes. That I could get into. I went in and read one scene cold. Rick Berman wanted me to read the second scene, and I said, no, I have to get to Universal. I have a final call back on another TV show. And he was like, well, can you come back after that? How long will you be? And I didn't know, because you can never tell with meetings. Sometimes you're there 10 minutes, other times 2 hours. Michael Piller didn't want to wait, but Berman said, don't worry, we'll be here when you get back. So I came back Friday night and read for it and did all my tests all weekend. I was up against this girl I'd read against many times, and I know I make her nervous. She had negotiated for more money, but I thought I could do it better. I really wanted Dax to be mine. When I went in, I got my words all mixed up, and I said to Rick, I'm really sorry. I'm just so excited to be here, and I really can't believe I'm reading for a Star Trek show. I'm just really nervous. Mind you, there's 12 people in there watching me do this. That's nerve-wracking all on its own. I'm in the center of this huge room with nothing to lean on and nowhere to go, and they're all at a big conference table staring at me. I went to see Mariana Sirtis on stage 16 afterwards to tell her how it went. I've known her for 4 or 5 years, but before I could do that, I got a message that Rick Berman wanted to see me right away in his office. I thought he was going to give me a few notes on my performance, and I'd have to do it again. He closed the door and said, "You got it," and I started to cry because I was so excited. I totally did not expect it. Which role on Babylon 5 did you read for? The psychic? It was when Pat Tallman was playing her in the pilot. The empath? Telepath. Telepath, thank you. Sorry, I'm getting Star Trek and Babylon 5 all mixed up. It was Pat's part, which is so funny because Pat came on to Deep Space Nine and was Nana Visitor's stunt woman. Now she's having a baby. How did you approach Jadzia Dax, someone who has lived so long and seen so much? I thought that somebody who possessed that amount of knowledge would be understanding and non-judgmental, that she would possess a wisdom that we could only dream about, that she could be wise and supportive of people without ever taking anything too personally, because she's been there and understands that you're having a bad day and it has nothing to do with her, only the stuff you're going through. And then that she'd been a man and a woman and a man and a woman. How about people from her past lives coming to confront her, which is what they've done? I have noticed that Curzon left an awful lot of unfinished business behind. Yeah, he sure did. I usually have so much more manic physical energy around me, and with Dax it's so much more calming. And it was good for me, Terry, to be in a situation where I have to try to think beyond what would be the obvious for me. It's really been a challenge to be in a different kind of consciousness than the average person. Is it true that you originally had the bumpy forehead, Trill makeup? Basically, I had a forehead, but they had reduced it from the first makeup test, which was a forehead with no eyebrows. Then we tried a smaller one, where we could see my eyebrows. Then we tried one even smaller than that, and it looked like I had a seagull stuck on my forehead. That's what they used, and Paramount didn't like it. It made me look like somebody had hit me in the head with a baseball bat. It really did. So we went back to makeup testing for another week. It was really hard because they spent so much time on my hair, my makeup, and what size my breast should be on the show, that there was very little time for me to be even relaxed enough to think about the character. So I was really nervous when we started filming. Everything was about how I looked. Excuse me. And all I wanted to think about was the acting part. Oh, before I continue reading this, they have some more of the Dax and Deep Space Nine crew pictures of characters and stuff. If this is going to work with focus. And there's a couple more Terry Farrell pictures. Is this going to zoom in or focus? A little bit. And the other picture, I don't know what that's from or what's going on there, but looks like some pretty serious stuff's going on. Okay, so those first few days of filming sound pretty hectic. Yeah, the first year was really hard for me. Excuse me. to get used to the technobabble. I'm not a slow learner, but it takes me longer with those kinds of words to study and know them. Unless it's an emotional scene, when you're not speaking technobabble, which is not so average on our show, I've just got to memorize the lines and do it. I really love the action shows because the physicality of the characters is really important. If you see us just sitting in front of computers and talking, you don't get to care about anybody. How long does it take to put on your spots every day? Michael Westmore only takes 40 minutes to do all of my makeup. My spots take 15 to 20 minutes at the most. It used to take an hour and a half to do both, but now he just throws it on my face. Laughs. What encounters have you had with Star Trek fans? I tell you, Star Trek fans are beyond fans. Being syndicated, they keep the show on the air. Normal fans, if they're just your fans and they follow you, they're one thing. But most people go in and out of phases of what they like. Star Trek fans are beyond that. They're so dedicated to the show, and thank God, because we wouldn't be on the air if it wasn't for them. I'll go to a convention and it's like, you guys know more than I do, so I should be asking you the questions. Are you satisfied with how Dax has developed and progressed as a character? I really loved Blood Oath. I liked playing God. I wish there was something more exciting going on in it because I think it tended to be slow, whereas it didn't read that way. And that was unfortunate. I almost think I had too many monologues in it. It's like, can I be doing something when I'm saying this? Laughs. Blood Oath was the best because I actually got to do something while something was happening to me. I really love the action shows because the physicality of the characters is really important. If you see us just sitting in front of computers and talking, you don't get to care about anybody. So I'm pleased about episodes like that. I realize that with 8 of us, there's no way they can focus on one person all the time. It's really hard to get a whole background story on everybody. Certainly when I get a script on my character, I'm so excited because because I find out more about Dax every time they write about her. Did Kor survive the battle in Blood Oath? It really wasn't clear if he did or not. Apparently he did, and apparently I was just knocking people out too. We didn't want to see Dax killing anyone. In the original script I read, Dax took a bite out of the albino's heart, but they removed that because the blood and stuff freaked them out. I thought it would have been cool if it ended not with me taking a bite, but with me holding the heart, so you didn't know if I was going to take a bite or not. Do you get frustrated being stuck behind a computer dispensing advice and technobabble? Yes, that does get frustrating sometimes, especially when they'll have Benjamin ask Kira a question and I'll think, wait a minute, what about Curzon and their relationship? I really wish they'd develop an episode around myself and Avery Brooks, so we have to deal with where our friendship has gone, instead of touching on it. A scene here, a scene there. Curzon is still clearly in there because he still calls her old man every once in a while, and I still have the memory of the relationship. For instance, in one of the scripts we just did, Nana and I were supposed to go anti-grav sailing together. It would be cool to actually see us do something together, because last season when we were in the Planet Hopper, I think it was in the circle. I had so much fun with her. She's such a riot. It was this whole comedic thing between the two of us. We were the first two women in Star Trek to have a space fight without men, and it was really cool. What other aspects of Dax would you like to see explored? Apparently Dax has been both a mother and a father before. What about the sons and daughters? And Jadzia has a mother and father and a brother and a sister. How come we don't see them? That would be nice. I'd love to have Curzon's bad boy side come out a bit more. In Playing God, I talked about how sometimes I get weird urges and I can't help it. I'd love for that to be spurred between me and Quark doing something shady. Something out of character for Jadzia and Quark, and I get in trouble together. That would be fun. Is it true that originally you weren't satisfied with Dax's development? They didn't know exactly what they wanted from me, or how to describe Dax to me. Instead of saying, we liked what you did in the audition, keep doing that, they were trying to find ways to help me, which got me more confused about what they wanted. It made me feel like they really didn't know who this character was, and now I was really lost. I felt I knew that character better when I did the test than when I was doing the 6th episode. People wrote in and said they really loved Blood Oath. The producers won't let the fans dictate what they do, but they certainly do listen if enough people write in. Rick Berman and Michael Piller really were trying to help me. They'd bring me in and say, she's got this grace-like quality, and this confidence thing. Yeah. It was like John Lovitz's Lair from Saturday Night Live. You're Grace Kelly. Yeah, that's it. And then in the next meeting, it's like you're Anne Bancroft's character from Agnes of God? And now I was really confused. I can't play a 50-year-old woman. I said, no, just that. Quality she has. She's 30 years older than I am. I can't get there. If those are part of the rumors you heard, that I was unhappy, it's because they didn't know how to tell me what they wanted from me. I started working with an acting coach who helped me bring my sense of humor to it, and that made them nervous. And when I started to do it, I'm a bit sarcastic. I think it worked better than they thought it would, and they started to integrate that into the character. Then they started to know me better, and I started to relax more, and everything fell into place. Any other favorite episodes besides Blood Oath? Yes, If Wishes Were Horses. That was a great one, although I never see Julian anymore. I love working with Sid. I noticed that went nowhere quickly. You and everybody else. Talk about getting nowhere. I didn't even get jealous with Melora. I was like, shouldn't I get a bit jealous here? Even though I can't have him forever, and I know I'm older than him and everything, we could still have had a one-night stand. To keep the flirtation going was great. To just have the flirtation dissipate completely, I don't think it's as much fun as if they were still showing it every few episodes. It doesn't mean he has to totally embarrass himself all the time, just that we can have that kind of playfulness with each other would be funny, and it keeps it light. I hardly saw Sid at all last year. The few scenes I had with him, he was either saving my life or talking about my health. Will we continue to see a more active side to Dax? Well, we're on our 5th show right now, and the first 2 are really about Odo. The 3rd one's about Quark, the 4th one's mine, and the 5th one's Kira's. In my episode, I actually hit one of the stunt people in the nose with my elbow by accident. I'd love to have a bit more action because it's fun, but I was really sorry that I hit her in the nose, and that's the take that we used actually. People wrote in and said they really loved Blood Oath. The producers won't let the fans dictate what they do, but they certainly do listen if enough people write in. Like Nana, the reason her wardrobe got changed was because enough people wrote in and asked, "What is that outfit she has on?" The first year it was made out of cotton, it made her look bigger than she was, and it was really not attractive. Now it's made out of one-piece lycra. It sticks to her body, and she looks far more attractive in it. Did you consider yourself a Star Trek fan prior to Deep Space Nine? I was a huge fan of the original series when I was a little kid, but the Next Generation I watched when I was reading for it. That's in no way a slight to it. I just don't want that much. I just don't watch that much television. Period. I watch the news, Good Morning America, Regis and Kathy Lee, talk shows and sitcoms to try to get away from it all. What do you think of your action figure? You know, I never expected it. I'd be embarrassed if it were a doll of me. But because it's Dax, to me, it's something nice to leave behind, that when I die, my great-grandchildren can say, "This is my great-grandma." I have to keep sending one to my niece, Brittany, because it keeps getting stolen from her school locker. They can never find one of me. They're always sold out, and that's a good feeling. I was in the Toys R Us back home in Iowa asking for a Jadzia Dax figure. The guy helping me look said, "I'm really sorry, we're all out." Oh my god, that's that's you, you're Dax. And I said, yeah, I feel kind of stupid. I'm not egomaniacal. I don't have an army of oh, I don't have an army of my own dolls. I just wanted one for my niece. Have they ever explained what that thing in your hair is? Is it some ancient trill heirloom? My hair's different this year. It's kind of strange, because I have short hair in the first 2 episodes, and then we go back to my long hair. They've never explained it. It's how they wanted it to look. And I thought a plain ponytail would look fine because Dax is a science officer. They focus. They were afraid that made me look too young. They thought it would look more alien and anal retentive. That I am into facts and figures, not what I'm looking like. I have a ponytail this year too, but it's not as high and my hair's not black anymore. There's a different thing in the back. It looks more feminine and relaxed. I've grown into this character, so they don't need to do as much to make me look. How can I explain it? I'm more Dax-like from the inside out rather than having to do it from the outside in, if that makes sense. Yes. Terry Farrell, thank you very much. Interview conducted on August 24, 1994. 1994? But I thought this was from 1995. Wait a minute. Well, whenever this is from, back in the 90s. So that's the end of that article, and the rest of this is just some more interviews and articles about like all kinds of stuff, like Doctor Who stuff, and some other things. Back in the 90s, they did things a little differently. There's a advertisement here for a Deep Space Nine book called Proud Helios, and it has a review and stuff. Yeah, from Pocket Books. And I guess this is a brief description or story plot and what someone's opinion of the book was. Some more advertisements. Like, here's another one. This is another Star Trek book. Or is this a movie? I think this is one of the... I think this is one of the episodes. The search. And that is that. Before Dreamwatch, there was DWB. Old 90s stuff. Real old.